Guys, on this edition of the Fight Bananas podcast, we're going to talk to the man, the myth, the coach behind it all, Din Thomas. We're going to talk to him about his victory with Gillian the Savage Robertson, Tyron Woodley, building up the firm, and also talking with TJ DeSantis on the UFC Fight Pass show, and so much more, guys. Buckle up for another edition of the Fight Bananas podcast. All right, guys, back on the Fight Bananas podcast. My main man, Din Thomas. My man, how are you doing? Happy belated Father's Day to you, sir.
Man, thank you very much, and I'm doing very well. Just getting back into the groove. Just got home last night from Vegas, so just back to work, man, you know?
Absolutely, and never a day off, you know what I mean? And it was a very, very successful trip out there to Vegas for you. There's so much I want to get into that. But let me kind of start first where we kind of almost left off. We talked 2-3 months ago. You made a bold, decision about leaving and doing your own thing and doing your own coaching. How has that decision been? It's been 2-3 months. How do you feel mentally with it? Are you in the best mindset that you've ever been in?
Yeah, I feel great about it, because I got my own little thing set up right now. And I can really dedicate my time to the people that I want to work with. So, one of the things that I realize is in this game is that those who have the work ethic and the resources are going to be successful. And, prior to this, I couldn't give the resources that I had to those with the work ethic because, I just was pulled in so many different directions. But now I can really focus and dedicate my time to those with the work ethic and then utilize the resources that I have in order to help them get better. And, that's what I'm just trying to do now is just to create and build people. I don't care about getting people that are already good. I want to build people and just build a relationship and just watch their careers flourish.
Right. And, Din, I'm so with you, my man. I've kind of made a little bit of the same decision myself within the last month, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing a decision to bet on yourself. Mentally, I sleep better. I got that chip off my shoulder a little bit. More time with the family, all that. Anything you want to make, right? Whatever you want to do personally in your own life to make that decision, I would, anyone who wants to go for it. You know what I mean? Sometimes money comes and goes, and I believe smart, successful people will always kind of get it one way or another, if that makes sense. And sometimes it's not about that in the end. It's just mentally, I'm at a better place, and I really hope the same for you. It seems like that. People I talk to you, and just seems like you're in a great spot right now.
Yeah, and you're right, man. Like, money isn't everything. It comes and goes, and I got it to, for my lifestyle, and that's all I care about is that my lifestyle is healthy and happy. And, I moved off into the country now. So, I'm in a quiet neighborhood. I ride a bike and I color and I do little, I do all these little things to
right.
just, to keep myself happy. It's just all about self-care. So, I'm happy now.
Right.
I'm doing my thing.
Right. And we saw you coloring. We'll kind of get into that right now. So we saw Gillian and Hannah Goldy eating a lot of pizza that night, and we see you on Instagram coloring. So we'll get into that. You guys go to Vegas. The first time, Hannah Goldy kind of on the team in the corner. We see her doing that left hook with you on Instagram. Gillian's performance was just out of this world. I feel like finally a lot of that limelight, finally a lot of the shine went to her. It was a great fight in the co-main event, that Emmett versus Burgos. But to me, the star, single-handedly, the one fighter that maybe got the most out of that weekend was Gillian, from my eyes and the people I'm talking to. How did you feel the performance was? How did you feel about that last 30-second call-out by yourself, and then Gillian does get the neck like she usually does? How do you feel like put a bow on the great weekend from the Savage?
Well, obviously, I'm happy that we got the victory. I mean, we worked so hard. Like, people may not realize, but when I left, I mean, it really was a Jerry Maguire moment when I left, and she was like, "I'm going with you." I was like, "All right." But we had nowhere to go, really. Like, we were training in my friend's garage for like a month. Like, every day we'd meet there twice, and then we'd go to like another little gym, and we'd just meet in these like random spots and just train. It would just be me and her. And then we drove to St. Louis together, and it was just me and her. And so for the longest time, it was just me and her working like every day. And so I'm just happy that and she was like, and she felt like she was getting better, but it was hard to tell because, you know, she didn't have any partners to work with really. So it was just like me and her. So like for her to go out there and to win the fight the way she did against, you know, such a formidable opponent. I mean, Courtney Casey is a good fighter and she's tough and nobody's really dominated her like that, you know. I mean, she's lost fights, but they're all been like kind of close. But you know, Gillian dominated her. Was, you know, I was proud of her for that. Like it wasn't perfect, and you know, and we're going to meet in about an hour to watch the tape to see. So that, and this is what I'm talking about: the resources and the commitment you put into people. We're going to watch the tape in about an hour and look at all the mistakes, and then we're going to go back and correct them because we can't make them again. That's the thing with this game. We don't want to make the same mistakes twice. So we're going to meet next hour. We're going to correct our mistakes, and she's back to training this week. There's no time off. You know, she's ready to get back going.
No, I love that. And one thing you said there, too, about driving, that's what you drove 12 hours to St. Louis with Gillian, and I bet you're right. 10 and a half hours, you guys are talking fight game, about her, about him, who, you know, what, you know, spots do you want to get to? Maybe a lot of just about Courtney Casey, maybe a lot about girls ahead of her on the rankings. You know, it just seems like you have that time now, like you said, that you can just put in, and that's the only thing that matters is who's with you, who you're communicating with. You know, I talked about Hannah Goldy, seems like kind of joining you in the firm, and Hannah and Gillian, literally I talked to Hannah a couple times that weekend, and they are the perfect match. Am I wrong on this, Dean? They're just the perfect. If you put Gillian and Hannah in one fighter, right, if you put them together, they're, you know, Valentina Shevchenko, they're Wei Li. And I just think they've been together for 50 days. Imagine them together for 500 days or 5,000 days now. It just seems like them together, especially with you leading the charge, I love it. I love it for both girls.
Yeah, I do too. You know, we just, you know, for whatever reason, me and Hannah kind of hit it off. You know, it was just a random thing. I called her one day, and because she had been, like, saying she wanted to come down to Top Team for a while, and, like, it just never really worked out that we got to work together. And then when me and Gillian were driving back from St. Louis, I called Hannah and said, "Hey, you know, what are you doing this weekend? We're driving back and we're making some pit stops to train along the way. Are you available?" And she said, "Yeah." And we stopped and trained with her in Orlando,
right,
on our way home,
right.
And it's just been like good chemistry ever since. Like, she's such a sweetheart. She's a sweet girl. She's eager to learn. She listens, and she's a terrific athlete. So I'm really expecting some big things from her. You know, the thing is, again, resources and work ethic. I think she has the work ethic. It's just she's never really had the resources because, again, and she's had great coaches. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking her coaches and saying that her coaches were wrong, but just they're spread out in so many different areas that they never really had an opportunity to dig in and go, all right, these are the little things that you need to fix. And that's what I'm willing to do is to you know, take those little things and see if I can't make her maximize her potential.
Oh, of course. Yeah, Dean, like if a baseball player, right, and he's hitting, and one hitting coach is saying, hey, you know, go swing a little bit through, swing more level. And then the head coach goes, no, I want a big uppercut. You got power. I want you to hit home runs. And you got different coaches telling you different, you know, just strategies or techniques. It's got to get in, you know, in your head almost. It's almost like too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, I think if Hannah's got one voice, her athletic ability and her power in that weight class is almost maybe unmatched. And I feel like if she got the one voice and a really good strategy, she's going to be hard to beat. I really see a good future for Hannah in the next, you know, 2-3 years there in the UFC.
Yeah, she's had a lot of success with, you know, just limited resources, really. And again, I don't mean to say that her coaching was bad. It's just like you could just tell, like when I ask her questions, like she hasn't been taught a lot of things, like a lot of the small things, and she has a good foundation and a good base, and she has a good instinct for fighting. So it's going to work out. I think it's going to work out for her. And I was looking at the other girls, like you know, Brianna Van Buren and Tisha Torres, like seeing them and then standing next to Hannah. It's like they almost look like two different weight classes. Like Hannah looks like a 135.
I know. I know.
And not only is she just like bigger and more solid, like she's got the skill. She's going to have the skill and the tactics in order to win these fights. So I'm looking forward to it.
Unbelievable. I think it was, Dean, right before you got there to Island Fights, Hannah Goldy main evented. It was Island Fights 50, I believe, and I was up there with her in the panhandle. She's cutting weight, and I'm like, how is she making this? Like, her body, she's just so built and so strong in a great way, right? And just like you said, I was like, how are you at this weight? It's amazing. But last thing on Savage, and then I do want a couple last little, maybe a little T. Wood sprinkle in there, and then maybe a little TJ DeSantis UFC Fight Pass chatter. Last thing on Gillian is, 30 seconds is kind of one of those things that's almost like gone viral. They hear your voice. You go for the finish. Gillian kind of smiles and laughs, goes for the finish with 30 seconds left. She talks about it in the media scrum. What does it mean to you that you guys have that, for one? Just this bona fide, what you say she delivers on. And then two, I just had a podcast about it. Gillian's got the most submission finishes in the female, any division, right? There's something about finishes in UFC. It's like a home run or a big slam dunk or a big 50-yard touchdown bomb. Fans love finishes, and that's what the Savage does. So I think that's really great going forward for her career and her marketability.
Well, if anybody trained with me, they know that my philosophy is we fight to finish, and I think that's the difference between me and my philosophy and a lot of other fighters or their coaches, is that they fight to fight. They're out there to fight to entertain, and I'm out to finish. And like everything that I do leads to a finish. So I don't care if there's, if it's in the first round or the last round. We're always looking for the finish. It's like scoring a home. It's like getting the touchdown. It's like we don't just play football to run the ball up and down the field. You want to score touchdowns. So the idea of getting the finish is the goal. We're looking to finish always. We can be losing, but we're looking to finish. We could be winning, but we're looking to finish. So that's the goal. So I just wanted to remind her that. I know that she was. The thing is that she was winning the fight, but to me that's not enough. It's not enough to just be winning. We got to finish. So I said, hey, look for the finish. She did it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I love about her is that, even what do you want to do today? It's your show. She'll go, well, I don't care, whatever you want. So it's always, she's, whatever I say, she's going to listen. So it's like, I'll be like, hey, do this. She's like, okay, no problem. Do this, no problem. So she listens to everything I suggest, but not to a fault though. I mean, there's sometimes that we kind of go back and forth,
Sure.
to discuss things, like if she has a problem with something, but I definitely think the chemistry is there.
That's awesome. Sometimes that's the worst for me and my wife. I'm like, babe, what do you want for dinner? I don't know what you want. I'm like, no, I just asked you that question, darling. We go back and forth 10 minutes before we pick our dinner spot. So,
well, there's nothing worse than going like, hey, what do you want? And then I go, okay, I want you to run. And then they go,
yeah,
no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I go, hey, what do you want to do? And I go, and I say, all right, we're working on bottom game today. She go, okay. There's no, friction.
Right. Yeah. Every time my wife asks me about dinner, I go Mexican. That's what I want. I want some kind of cheese, beef, and roll-up. You know what I mean? I want some kind of that. She's like, no, I'm not in the mood. I'm like, well, then don't ask me, because that's what I want. So I'm loving that. Okay, let's transition a little bit of T. Woodley. A couple weeks ago, same UFC Apex main event versus Burns. Of course, it didn't go the way you wanted. Can you talk about that? How was Woodley afterwards? How was Woodley going forward? Because a lot of people were saying it just looked like he didn't have the juice. You know what I mean? Like some people have that walking into an octagon and walking out. Of course, people can say that through a TV and afar. How did you feel T. Wood was going into that fight, and where do you think he is right now?
It's tough to say. We had a great camp. There was nothing wrong with the camp, and that's. When with the Usman fight, I say the camp wasn't great, but this time the camp was great, so we can't use that as an excuse. I just think that it's tough to show up every night with the tenacity that you need in order to fight at this level, especially when you get older. The thing is, you're dealing with younger guys that are in their prime, testosterone is high, and I remember my very last fight. I was 36 years old, and I remember being in that third round just cruising, thinking, whatever. You know what I'm saying? At some point you start to lose that hunger, and you got to find it again. Now, I think he can find it again. It's just he didn't have it that night. He didn't show up with it that night in order to go out there and hurt Burns. And if you look at, the way his demeanor was and the way he conducted himself, in other fights, like, Kosh checking those guys, like he wanted to murder those guys.
Right.
With Burns, it's just, you get a little older and, you're a father now and you're thinking about your kids and, it's just a little tougher. But not to say that he can't find it. And I think that that's where we're at right now. We got to get that back. If you're going to go out there and fight these guys, because these aren't easy fights. You got to go fight these guys with that hunger. I mean, and I hate to be cliche, but really it's the eye of the tiger.
Right. And you mentioned the Jerry Maguire moment earlier, and that CAA or whatever agency that was in the movie, they were just, they didn't have the hunger, right? They were just kind of going through the motions, getting another agent, getting another player, kind of like that. And Jerry was like, no, like I'm trying to go old school a little bit, trying to get that that fire, that eye of the tiger that you just said. And sometimes it works, and sometimes, there's nothing to it. Woodley was at the pinnacle. For 2 years, he was absolutely the greatest welterweight and one of the greatest MMA fighters in this damn planet. And then now, he does a lot of the music. You mentioned the kids, and he's making a lot of money. It's just, that's life. Sometimes it's hard to get that back. Up the mountain sometimes is almost easier, more tunnel vision going up. And now when you're on top, and you got a lot of things coming your way, a lot of phone calls and a lot of messages, it's hard to get it back. It is what it is. But let me transition a little bit. It's been great watching you guys, and then even chatting with you. Hey, you have a mic? You got the mic drop on this one? The mic arm? Are you?
Oh no. No. I gotta work on that. Like I don't know. I like holding it.
And I literally talked to TJ right after you guys got off too. And he goes, "I bought Dean that. I even set everything up. I sent it to his house." And he goes, "I said it." And I was like, "Even Dean said it on the show." He goes, "I like just holding the mic. I love it." But man, you guys are great together. You have great chemistry. Both of your knowledge and history of the sport is kind of unmatched. And you guys have great banter. So how has it been, hooking up with TJ on the UFC Fight Pass show, and how did that come to be?
I loved working with TJ. I love working with him. The thing is, I met TJ because he was producing the Morning Wood show for me and Tyron, and every so often he would chime in, and I'd always be like, "Yo, I wish he would chime in a little more," but he would always just kind of play the background.
Right.
So basically, we built up a relationship when we started commentating for Island fights. For whatever reason, he asked me to do it, and I said, "All right, I'll do it." And then, we just, we kind of hit it off. Like, I understand broadcasting, even though I may not be very good at it, but I understand how it works. And he comes from a broadcasting perspective and a background. So, and again, and I do too. I mean, I do radio now. I do ESPN West Palm. So I understand how it works in chemistry and listening and allowing the other person to shine. And so he asked me to do this show for Fight Pass, and I was like, "Come on, man, I'm already in." and we did it, and the numbers have been great. And it's just something else that I can add to my resume, and it's great. It's I don't know. The thing is, since I quit my job a couple months ago, things have just been falling in place. Just the universe has been looking out for me. Right.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's life. That's what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes when you, let that bad mojo and you unpack a little bit, more things get packed up the way you want, and it gives you opportunities. Maybe you wouldn't take that phone call with TJ if you were so busy, or maybe like, "Hey, TJ, I got too much on my plate right now. I just don't want," you know what I mean? Whatever. But you guys are great together. Like I said, it's just the back and forth, the banter, the comedy. But yeah, you guys never step on each other's toes, but you're just letting when you guys have fighters on like Sterling and O'Malley a couple weeks ago, you let them flow. So real quick, a couple little just UFC, topical questions. UFC 250 was like about the bantamweights, and you guys had, of course, O'Malley and Sterling on the extra round show. To me, this past weekend, Dean, tell me if I'm wrong, it was all about the females, especially the four winners with Gillian, Tisha, Raquel, and Lauren Murphy. Did you get that vibe? It was a very, moving show. It was a very vital show for the female division, especially the lighter weight classes.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was a lot of fights in there that were kind of like important fights. I think it was an important fight for Tisha because this was to determine whether Tisha does she still have it. She hasn't had consistently good performances in her last few fights, and she's fighting this young girl who is extremely well-rounded and extremely good. Brianna Van Buren, the former Invicta tournament winner. I mean, she's a great fighter, and to me, I was almost thinking like, wow, this could be a tough matchup for Tisha. She comes out and she does her thing, and she looked fantastic. I mean, when Tisha's on, she's really on. She's so fast and she's so good at what she does. So I was impressed, and I was proud to see her pull that off. But again, and it was an important fight for Gillian and Courtney. The both of them, looking to establish themselves in the division. And then Raquel has always been kind of right there. So absolutely, it was definitely a good night for women's MMA.
Oh, for sure. And I remember Tisha after the fight was a little bit like, guys, I've only fought nothing but top-end champions over and over again, and, sometimes you lose to that top-end talent. I would love your take, too. There's 3 champions in the 4 weight classes for females, and I can argue it's probably the best championship group ever with Weili, Valentina Shevchenko, and Amanda not once but twice. It seems like that's great for female MMA to kind of have that Tiger Woods, New England Patriot, Lakers in their prime. When you have the champs right, it feels like they make all the other females keep chasing better, and they all get better and better and better. So I love your take on just the champs, Valentina, Weili, and Amanda.
Yeah, everybody loves a dynasty. This is something that my boy Josh Cohen always says on our radio show, is that everybody loves a dynasty. Like, when the Golden State was hot, we loved them. When we loved the Bulls from the 90s, so we love the dynasty. And I think it's good for sports when we have a dynasty, because then eventually when they lose, it's that much better for the sport. So the fact that we got Weili, who looks so dominant right now. I mean, obviously Joanna gave her problems, but I mean she's still so dominant. Moving forward, I think Joanna might have gave her last strong effort in that fight, but I think Weili is going to be champ for a while. And then Shevchenko I think she's just on another level right now. And then obviously Amanda just on another level. It's like, it's always good to watch them fight, because like they're so dominant, and they really show that there are levels to this. And then one day they're going to lose, and then it's going to be such a great thing for the sport when they do lose. So I just love the fact that there is like these dynasties in these divisions. I love it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I do, especially them. Those females are just top end, inside and outside the octagon, and they are their next level. And I think that's great for female MMA. We'll close it. We're talking to Din Thomas, the man, the myth, the legend. Probably won't talk to you before UFC 251. It's around the corner, so I would love your take. Couple big female fights before the triple-decker main event title shabam that they got going on. What one out of those title fights that really grabs your attention? I don't know if you remember this, Dean. Two times ago we talked. You're like, Dave, Volkanovski's definitely going to upset Max Holloway unanimous decision. I was like, really? You're like, yes, watch. And I gave you that credit because that's exactly what happened. Does that rematch, or is it the Jan Aldo, or the main event welterweight Usman Burns? What out of those 3 fights is really, really grabbing your eye?
Honestly, I'd have to say and this is, I don't know why, but the Aldo Jan fight.
Me too. Me too. New school, old school.
Yeah, because, Aldo, I mean, you can't take nothing away from him. I mean, this guy when he's on. And, but the thing is, like, he could get really beat up out there, because Peter Yan is no joke.
Right.
But Aldo, he looks, I mean, I don't even know if he really deserves a title shot, but the fact that he got it is exciting. And, if he comes, he's not that old though. I mean, he's got a lot of miles on him, but if he comes out and fights the way he used to fight, I mean, we could be really looking at such a violent, brutal fight where, these guys just kind of go at it. And I love it. I mean, I think both of them are great fighters. They're both very devastating fighters, have the ability to finish and hurt people. I love the stylistic matchup, because they're thinking, violence first. And I love that in those guys. So that's the fight I'm looking forward to most.
Me too. I agree. I did a little top 5 fight announcements, and with everything, even with the trilogy of Stipe and DC. I love the Whitaker-Till matchup in the middleweight later on there at Fight Island. But for some reason, I don't know why, I can't put my finger on it, that Jan Aldo's really, really just grabbed my attention. It's a very mysterious fight. You would not think a year ago that those 2 men would be matched up, so that's kind of cool and unique about it. And then also the elephant in the room there, which I like because I'm a huge fan of Aljamain. If something happens to Aldo in the next week or two, because 2 out of his last 3 fights he did pull out of, I would love, and hopefully, and the MMA gods gives us this, I would love that Sterling-Jan fight. I'm just a big fan of Sterling. His performance, really walking right through Sanhagen. So if we can see Sterling-Jan, I'm a fan of that as well.
Yeah, I think Sterling is the best guy in the division, to be honest with you. Now, that's not to say that he can win the belt, because he can still lose to these guys. That's the problem with there not being a clear-cut best guy or better, best guy in the division. But I think in terms of skill, I think that Aljamain Sterling, I think he is the best guy in the bantamweight division. I think he matches up well with everybody. Now, just hopefully, like against his fight against Marlon Moraes, obviously he got clipped in that fight, so that can always happen to him, but because everybody is so good there. But in terms of skill-wise, I think he is the best guy in the division. So I think he should be fighting for the title, and hopefully something happens where he can get a chance to showcase his skill on Fight Island.
Absolutely. Din Thomas, man, always a pleasure. We always love having you on. Us, big fans of Gillian, Savage, Robertson, always have them back. And yours, man, we will definitely let you go. We want to let you go to color and get ready for a little practice with Gillian. And my man, we'll talk to you very soon. And like I said, we really do appreciate you.
All right, my man. Thank you very much.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Peace.
There we go, guys. What a great interview with the man. I'm telling you guys, the coach, the legend, Din Thomas, just has tons of tricks in the hat, can do it all, commentate, broadcast, coach, hell of a fighter. God dang it, I would like to see him in there one more time. You never know. My main man, Din Thomas, dude, appreciate you very, very much. We appreciate all of our sponsors, everyone that supports the podcast, Fusion CBD Products, Mako Tech Mouthguards, our family up there, and Still Nutrition, and, of course, our guys at Warhammer Fightwear. Check them out at warhammerfightwear.com. Man, what a great show. I just loved it. Hopefully we'll talk to Gillian very, very soon. I believe we got a couple interviews lined up today, so could be a very, very busy week here at Fight Bananas. Make sure, guys, check out fightbananas.com. We just dropped a really great article on Cleveland McLean, who is fighting for Titan FC this Friday on UFC Fight Pass. Maybe TJ and Dean will do something after that show, but we'll see. Cleveland talks a lot about how important this fight is, and it is for him in his career, but not that. He talks a lot about Black Lives Matter, also a lot about just the social injustice that's happening right now in America. So it's a great, great article, guys. Check it out at fightbananas.com, the Cleveland McLean story. Very, very great article right there. But, guys, keep on downloading, subscribing, sharing this podcast, especially on iHeartRadio. We appreciate them so much. The downloads on it just has been bananas over the last 90 days, 70 days since the pandemic hit. So we appreciate you guys listening through the corona. You know what I mean? Also, of course, subscribe on our Fight Bananas YouTube channel. Island Fights coming back very soon. July 25th, Island Fights on the way back. So many big things happening. We are so appreciative of everyone out there. Din Thomas, my main man. We'll talk to you very, very soon. UFC 251. This Saturday, though, guys, don't forget Hooker versus Poirier. Holy shit, what a main event. Guys, thank you so much. Dean, appreciate you. Everyone, be good, stay blessed, and always go bananas.